Hello folks and welcome. So today's video is going to be about Linux distributions. And I'm going to be unbiased. I'm not going to lean one toward the other. I'm just going to make a video. This is for folks that are just learning about Linux and wondering which desktop is best for them, possibly. I'll talk about one website that I'll give you as a link, and you can go and do your own evaluations. I will give you a couple of tips based on the age of your computer and what the desktops are. And more importantly, how to navigate this particular website. It's not, I wouldn't say a one-stop shop, but it's close to it. And as a person looking for a Linux distribution that has never heard of Linux, this is a great place to start looking for that search. All right, I'm using a custom desktop right now, and I'm really not going to get into that. I got this wallpaper off of wallpaperswide.com, so I thought I'd give them their plug. Now, I do not get paid for videos, but I do have a channel that has over 400 videos currently. And the subscription key should be floating right around your time and date area with the hiker with yellow brackets. All of my videos are keyword indexed. You can also see some of those distributions there. All right, so again, let's get into the meat of things. I'm filming in 1080. Please adjust your YouTube player accordingly. So this is called DistroWatch. Now I'm going to back it up for a second just to let you see the extent of this. And this could be overwhelming to brand new users, but I'm going to show you the navigation for this thing. So basically you will find this a little bit more comfortable. First of all, if you have a friend that recommends a different distribution, you can always look it up by name. If you're just looking through the sea of information, we can talk about the page hit ranking area. We can also read the latest news, latest distributions, and etc. We're going to focus in on this area today. So this is ranked 1 through 100. I do not use the ranking numbers whatsoever. And I don't recommend that you gauge this either by popularity. This is just what DistroWatch rated this. And they even make mention of that somewhere in one of their articles. So these are just numbers, and these are different distributions, not to be confused with the word desktop. Like Microsoft Windows 11 is a desktop and Windows 7 is a desktop. So there's 100 of these things, and a lot of these produce more than one desktop. Down here, if you click the More Statistics, you'll get another 100 plus. I'm not really going to click on everything in here, and again, I'm not being biased at all. All I'm going to do is click on a couple of these and explain them, just for your navigation experience, because I want you to make up your own mind. Or maybe you have a friend that's recommending something. Not going to hear that today. I'm going to show you navigation of this thing and talk a little bit about desktops and maybe the age of your computer, that kind of stuff. However, since this is ranked and it is at the top, I'll use that as my first example. Again, no favoritism here. So this is MX Linux. I have used quite a few of these Linux distributions because I've been around Linux ever since it was founded, and before that Unix. Linus Torvalds is the guy who invented Linux. He currently lives in the Portland, Oregon area. So do I. Linus Torvalds started his Linux experience all the way back in Finland. I do have a video on history of Linux if you want to take a peek at it. Linux is used in a lot of places. Do you have an Android phone? Well, deep down in those bowels and layers is a Linux core. If you have a home router, there's a high probability that it's running a Linux operating system, your home router. A lot of these servers on the internet are Linux. Microsoft even uses Linux servers. Amazon.com uses Linux servers. Google uses Linux servers. We're talking desktops today. So MX Linux. Let me show you how to read this. OS type is Linux. Occasionally on DistroWatch you'll see BSD across there. The based on is how they put their packages together, and the packages are put together to produce an operating system or a desktop. The outcome that you see as the touch and feel. So this one here is based off of XFCE. The icons can also be changed on most, if not all, of these Linux distributions. Light themes, dark themes, icon sets, a lot of things. A lot of them provide you with nice tools like this one, has a welcome page. As soon as you, put the image up on your computer, you have an install key. Or you can just test drive it. They're called live images. I'll talk about those pretty heavily today. This one here is the welcome screen, frequently asked questions. You have forums, you have actual videos. I do have some too. Popular apps, and a tour. And here's your install button. Point and click. Now this distribution does not say for beginners, but trust me, any beginner can run this. So the architecture, I'm not going to spend too much time on to get into the weeds, but most computers nowadays are 64-bit computers. The architecture. A lot of the older ones are 32-bit. You may have heard that buzzword. If not, you can always use your favorite search engine to find that info. The desktop is not the same as the distribution name. The desktop just means it's the type of user experience that you have. So XFCE desktop looks different from a Plasma and Fluxbox. Let me explain a little bit about these. So on XFCE desktop, you'll find on quite a few Linux distributions. They're not all the same either. MX has some tools that others do not have, and vice versa. KDE Plasma is not the same as an XFCE desktop. It has a lot of fluffy icons and a lot of tools. So this is a lightweight desktop, and this not so much. This requires a little bit more horsepower, newer hardware, more RAM in some cases, or most cases. Okay, but you will find this Plasma desktop and XFCE on quite a few Linux distributions. Now Fluxbox I probably wouldn't recommend if this is your first experience with Linux, but in time you can probably use Fluxbox rather easily. My previous channel, which is now closed, I had a dedicated video for Fluxbox. I don't recall if I have one on my new channel. I have, like I said, well over 400. Try not to remember every single thing. Now, the other thing I want you to remember, though, is when you're looking through DistroWatch and you're investigating what distribution you should try out and test, is the word live medium. That means you can download the computer image, or ISO, to your current operating system, burn that onto a DVD if you have a burner, or you can do the more convenient thing that a lot of people are doing nowadays, is burn this onto USB sticks, USB thumb drives. Then you can plug it into your computer and test drive it. You can see how it runs, you can see the icons, the whole thing. And I do recommend that actually. Raspberry Pi, you can go to Amazon.com if you're curious what a Raspberry Pi is. It looks kind of like a computer system on a credit card. It's kind of a tiny looking thing. So a little bit of information about the distribution here, but more importantly, I want you to understand this. The reason for the DistroWatch of me making this video is for your convenience. You can look up these popular distributions by their websites directly from here. You don't have to go all over the place looking for information. This goes directly to their website. Then you can choose to download based on 64-bit, 32-bit. Now, why would they have an advanced hardware support? Well, one of the reasons could be that you're working on a modern laptop, and that modern laptop may have a touchpad, and your touchpad is being naughty, maybe with this Linux kernel here, 6.1. This one has a higher grade Linux kernel. The higher grades Linux kernels also accommodate more information about firmware and drivers. Sometimes even your printers. I heard an instance from a user the other day, left me a message that he had one version of something. It could have been this one, I don't recall, but he switched to a higher kernel and his printer started to work. It wasn't working on the previous kernel, to give you some examples of Linux kernels. Now, again, so you can first read about the distribution. You have their link. You have also more links and documentation and screenshots. It keeps going, release announcements, all the way down to when the last version was updated and the previous. And a lot of these will have, well, buzzwords or buzz names or funny names. And then also for your more medium to advanced, we'll also show you package information. Popular packages, what versions they have from previous version to new. Like that went from 22 to 23. Maybe too much information. Whatever you do, always use reviews discerningly. I don't care what website you're on nowadays, there is going to be a lot of false information out there. A lot of people like to plug in, well, I call it questionable stuff. I only have one name for people like that, trolls. So use the review information always, wherever you are, discerningly. Keep that in mind. Somebody could be plugging in information just to have fun or be malicious. All right, so now that I have this very large, the second distribution is called Mint. It's actually Linux Mint. Now I'm going to step back in time. So Linux has been around for a long time. Linus Torvalds, again, is the inventor of Linux, and he lives in the Portland, Oregon area, like I do. And more importantly, back in the old days, when Linux first came out, it wasn't that easy to use. Nowadays, it's all point and click pretty much. So as a computer guru, as some people call it, anyone can install these things. All right, so Linux Mint is out of Ireland, and it's Debian-based, Ubuntu-based. LTS is long-term support, and they offer 3 desktops: Cinnamon, Mate, and XFCE. To cover this one more time, a desktop is your user experience. XFCE is more forgiving on older computers. However, it runs lightning fast on modern computers. I call it lean and mean. The Mate desktop is a desktop that's more traditional, also very forgiving with some graphics cards. The Cinnamon desktop is a little heavier on the resources, requires a little bit more RAM, but it also offers you a lot of bells and whistles. It's listed as a beginner's. They offer a live medium, and again, you can go down to Linux Mint's website and download that. Moving down to Endeavour OS, now you'll hear a lot of people say, if you talk to your friends, Arch distribution is not for beginners. I kind of lean against that, actually. A lot of these Arch-based distributions have package managers or software stores. In other words, point and click. A lot of these do require that you run stuff out of terminal, but a lot of them do not, or both. So always do this. Try it yourself. Again, a lot of these things can be installed rather easily. Now I'm going to click this screenshot and let it load for a second, just to give you an idea. This is a very colorful background image. We can always change the wallpaper to make our desktop experience different. This one is Plasma, because I can see the logo here in the corner. But this is a welcome screen that is loaded with information. It's even got a point-and-click installer. But it also has some tools to update things. Just to give you one example of an Arch-based distribution. So this one also offers the XFCE, the Mate desktop. The LXQT you haven't seen yet, but that's also a lightweight desktop. The Budgie, Cinnamon, and GNOME are not so lightweight, but more importantly, they are fairly efficient if you have a computer made in the last, I would say, 8 years. Maybe 6 or 8 years. You know, this stuff changes constantly. This video that I'm doing today is in 2024. Next year, this will have a totally different version of something. Just like everything else, nothing stands still. Another word that you may hear quite often is Debian. Debian is an independent global of origin. They have tons of desktops, including servers. All right, so one of the things about Debian is they have an installer here that does multiple type of desktops out of one download, ISO. It's just letting you see that the community of people is worldwide. They also offer other downloads. Now, this particular installer isn't one of those things that looks nice and pretty, but it does the job. One of the things about Debian systems a lot of people do not know is they're known for being a stable system, not always the latest and the greatest, in other words. They're not living on the edge like some distributions are. And sometimes what happens is they break when you live on the edge. Debian-based system. Now the one below it is Ubuntu. A lot of people, you'll find that Ubuntu-based systems. But Ubuntu is also based off of Debian. A lot of people don't know that either. Origin is Isle of Man. Offers 2 desktops. And also servers. Ubuntu.com. Some of you folks may recognize these logos. So Linux is used not only on Android phones, kind of underneath the bottom layer, as one would say, but they're used also in your home routers. Quite a few servers on the internet, as a matter of fact, they're prevalent on the internet, are Linux servers. Some of them are homegrown, like Microsoft Azure. Yes, Microsoft uses Linux servers. AWS is Amazon Web Services. In addition to selling you good stuff, like Ring doorbells and etc., they also offer cloud storage. We have Google also that uses a lot of Linux servers. Maybe you've heard of Chrome OS also. Guess what that's based off of? Anyways, they're just different homegrown systems, as one would say, based off of, right? Based off of something. Everything is based off of something. So Manjaro is another one. You will also see in that list that it's based off of Manjaro. It is also an Arch-based distribution out of Austria, France, and Germany. This particular welcome screen also has an installer in the center and some other goodies in here. They also have a software store, unlike some Arch distributions. And their website is manjaro.org. All right, I'm not going to read every one of these off. I'm sorry, folks, but I'm at the 17th minute, and I'm going to basically start just skipping around a little bit. I'm not trying to be unfair to these distributions. I am just trying to skip around a little bit to make you understand, as a new person looking for a different distribution, you're going to probably mostly focus on ones that are for beginners. But I wanted to let you see the list in here is quite extensive, and you have everything from security type of Linux systems all the way up to like Tails, which is more for anonymity kind of things. You have also Kali, and also there's Parrot, also for security professionals to try to find where those hackers are hiding, because these are called ethical type of systems. And also, unfortunately, hackers also use them. But forensics, data rescue, and security is what some of the good guys use to trace down the bad guys. Let's put it that way. And you can see their desktops in here. All right, with that focus, I'm just going to talk about a couple of ones. So you have, let's take Zorin, for instance. They're for beginners. And Zorin also has a paid version of Linux. XFCE and GNOME out of Ireland. They're Debian and Ubuntu based. Again, LTS is long-term support. And just to give you that example, the Pro version is a paid version. However, they do have free versions. This is a GNOME desktop. Download is free. And the education, I believe, is the XFCE desktop, also free. And then I'm going to skip down to 15. I haven't done a review on this in a long time. Now, the last time I checked, there is some paid software in here. So it's a Pantheon desktop. Give you an idea what it looks like. I believe this is the Yosemite Valley in the United States, California. And they also have a software store. And that software store, the last time I checked, there was some software you had to pay for. Well, if you decide to test drive Elementary IO, this is what you're going to see, what you can pay. and you'll say purchase. If you change this to 0, then you can download and test drive it. The last time I checked, you can do that. It's the 3 gigabyte download. Burn that onto a USB stick or a DVD. So again, lots of different distributions. I highly recommend that you either get a friend's opinion or test drive these yourself. You can download a whole bunch of these things. A lot of them also offer you, as I pointed out, the word live medium. This one also says live medium on it. So anytime you see those words anywhere in here, that it offers a live medium, live media, live medium, you can test drive these things. Everybody's user experience is different. Everybody's computer is different. Your screen resolution, your graphics card, what your intent of using the system for. A lot of people use it just for plain old internet. Maybe typing a couple of letters. Most of these distributions will do all that for you. Some of them may be geared toward gaming. Some maybe not so much. If you're geared toward gaming, you better have a little bit of beefed up hardware. But a lot of people just use it for general use. And again, you have lots of choices. You can view these, look through these, discard them. But more importantly, I just gave you an example of navigation on DistroWatch just to help your research out a little bit. And then I'll close this and say thank you for watching.